Hey everybody, this is Andrea Jenson from the Cash Flow CFO, and you're listening to the Cash Flow CFO Podcast, the show that explores the financial side of running a business for people who want to maximize profitability and scale with confidence. If you want to make smart financial decisions based on data and put more of your hard-earned profits into your pocket, this is the podcast for you. This episode of the Cash Flow CFO podcast is brought to you by the Cash Flow CFO. Did you know that on average, business owners have up to 84% of their personal net worth tied up in their business? Our virtual CPAs and CFOs, as well as accounting and bookkeeping experts, empower business owners just like you to make big leaps that help them maximize profitability and scale with confidence. Visit thecashflowcfo.com for more information, and thank you for listening. Hey everyone, it's Andrea, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Talk with CFOs. And today I'm super excited because I am joined by one of our amazing CFOs, Jessica Buzzell. And Jess, she goes by Jess, has 15 plus years experience in business growth and development and extensive experience in accounting, financial management, leadership, cooperation, and consulting. Her background includes scaling her own business from a small startup to a multi-million-dollar organization. Her unique experience growing her own company brings highly valuable perspectives and expert insights to every business that she helps to scale. Welcome, Jess.
Thanks, Andrea. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. I know we have such amazing conversations as a CFO team about all things businesses, not just their finances, right? But like business models is really what we do. And that's every single person on our team, like that's their superpower, is to take a business model, and it can be any business model out there, and work it to where we bring in all the variables and make this business so profitable. And sometimes we have to make big tweaks in the business model. Sometimes we have to, do a lot of testing and moving things around to get it to where it's perfectly aligned. So it matches, the business owner's goals. It matches, they're making profit. They're paying themselves what they should be paying themselves. And I love the conversations that we have that surround all of that, all of those components. And I think too, what I love the most about the insight that you bring to the conversations is you've actually been there, done that. You've been in the trenches. You've started your own business. You exited. You scaled it first, and then you exited. I'd love to know, how does that bring? Are you like bringing in, weaving in the conversations and the consulting with the CFO clients? Your real world experience, and how does that help you to relate to the clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love that analogy about weaving in all of the different aspects of the business, right? So I would say that my personal experience running a business has really made all of the difference in the success that I have as a CFO and the success of my clients, right? Because I am approaching it from a much more vast angle than just the finances, right? In addition to that, I really do relate personally with the business owners. This is their baby, right? And I think sometimes it can be difficult for a business owner to be told from an outside person, hey, this model's broken. This doesn't work. Our pricing is not set up for profits, and this really does need to change. And here's some really hard decisions that we need to make in order to bring ourselves profitable. And so I like to say that I can empathize tremendously with my clients because I've been there. I've literally gone through this discussion, and I was the one on the receiving end at one point, where I had a financial expert come in and pretty much say to me, like, Jess, your prices are terrible. You're not pricing for profits, and here's what we need to do. So, I like to think that I really do take a personal approach with my clients on that, right? Because I've been there and I've done that. And I can see all of the various aspects of the business and how it relates to the overall profitability or loss of the business.
Right. Yeah. The business owners, I love when we first start working with a new business because, we're really like, tell us all your hopes and dreams. What are you trying to achieve with this business? And we really get them to paint the picture of done, right? What is this perfect scenario, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years out? What does that look for you? And not just from like the financial perspective, right? We're also looking at it, from a very holistic point of view too, because every single decision you make in your business is going to impact you on the personal side as well, right? Because our business is typically, 99% of the time, our business is our biggest asset that business owners are going to own in their lifetime. What do you think about, when you get somebody that comes in and they've got these great ideas and plans, and then you get in under the hood and you look at their financials, you look at all the systems, the processes, the structure, right? The foundation of the house, if you will. And there's a big disconnect. I know we see that sometimes, right? And you have to kind of, I joke when new CFOs are joining our team and I say, sometimes you're going to be wearing 3 different hats. One is a CFO, one is a therapist, and one is a detective, right? Because all of those go into the role. Yeah. And I think in this scenario, right, you're a little bit more of like the therapist / consultant, what are some of your thoughts and experiences that you've come across?
Yeah, it's actually, I'll add a 4th role in there, which is really operations, right? An operations consultant. When you say that, no, as a CFO, that's not my primary role. And I find myself touching all of the different aspects of the business that surround the operations. I'm actually going through this, or recently have gone through this with a client where, there's so much opportunity for process improvements, for automation, for improved workflows, and things like that. As a business owner who's working in the business, they don't have the time to work on the business, right? Is the expression. And so they oftentimes kind of lose sight of the operations area and how critical a component it really is to being profitable. So, for me, because of my experience running the company before and scaling it, I'm so heavily, my brain is so heavily leaning towards operations all the time. How can we make this process more streamlined? How can we slim down maybe on some of our manual tasks and our staff, right? So that we don't have to have this big burden to handle this process. How can we create profitability and efficiency from all of these existing steps in our operations? How can we make it better, right? To make it more profitable, to increase our overall personal wealth and reach our personal goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, when you get the news delivered to you that, hey, your pricing's not good, or hey, your model is not profitable, we're going to have to make these changes. Immediately the business owner is like, just this panic sets in. And I think what they don't realize is that it's these incremental small percentages all across the board of their business model that have that compounding effect that ultimately are going to get them those really big, percentage returns that they're looking for. But it's really just these micro shifts that have to happen. And I love that you bring up operations as like that 4th hat, because money and the finance and operations in a business go hand in hand, and there's no getting around that.
Right.
So you can do everything under your power, from the financial lane of the business to make all the changes that you need to make the business profitable. But ultimately, it's going to go down to how are you servicing the sale in staying within your allocated percent, right? We like to say between 40 and 50% of every dollar in sales, right, goes to service that sale. So that's your direct labor. That's, any other COGS, any direct expense that is incurred to service that sale. And that's ops. So I love that you bring that up and are, kind of shining a light on that, because I think most CFOs,
they don't look at that, right? They're like, here's your forecast, here's your budget, here's your, cash flow for the next rolling 12 months, 18 months. And then they kind of check out.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
I think, yeah. And the other thing that was like popping in my head right there was the staff utilization schedule.
Yes.
Talking about ops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love working with the staff utilization, and not just for the service-based business, but even just the labor forecast, right? Understanding the full impact of your staff on, even not a non-service-based business, right? And I think that it's so easy. Again, this is where there's so much I could talk about regarding the ops and the finance connection, but it's so easy to lose sight of the costs, the overall compensation costs, right, of your team, and not pay attention to, can you actually support that with the prices that you have in place? Going back to the actual staff utilization, primarily for our service-based businesses, we need to analyze the total cost of labor, right? Not just the base wage, but what else are we paying for that person, right? So the labor burden, the taxes, benefits, right? All those kinds of things. And then from that point, we have to determine, what do we need to charge for this person for their billable hours? How many billable hours can they actually work, right? Because there's no way that, let's just use a consultant as an example, right? There's no way that a consultant is going to bill 100% of their working time. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. So this is where we use that 80-20 split, right? Or depending on the industry, that can vary sometimes. But, we need to identify how much revenue should we be making with the team that we have? And then on the opposite side of it, how many people do we need to get the revenue that we like, that we want, right? What can we afford to pay them? And how can we make sure that our dollars are going to the right places to get us to that revenue goal, right? It's all about capacity planning and full cost of labor understanding. There's so much of that gets lost in translation when you talk about compensation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the disservices that I see business owners do to themselves is they don't have these tools in their toolkit to make it, like, when you bring our team on, for just example, your life as a business owner gets so much easier because there's so much that you're missing as the CEO of your business. And there's all these little, like I said, they're micro shifts. Maybe they're micro reports. Maybe they're micro, just all these different things that we're looking at that most business owners, bless their everything because they're amazing and they serve such a great purpose in the world, right? And they're, always solving needs of customers, of people, but they're not finance experts. They don't all have business degrees, MBAs and all the things. And so they're making their life so much harder because they just are like pushing the boulder up the hill and trying to figure all this stuff out. And it's frustrating. And I hear so many times business owners say, I'm too smart to feel this stupid. And it's like, you're not stupid. You just don't have the right team with the right tools to help you.
Well, and I was just going to add, just think about it. When we think about the business owners, they're visionaries, right? They have a vision and they're executing on that vision. They're passionate about that vision. They're not thinking about staff utilizations and finances and how can I make sure that each item or service that I provide is priced for they don't have the time for that. It's not in their skill set. They don't have the tools to be able to do that easily. They're focused on executing their vision. And so, when you think about, you have to hire for your weaknesses, right? You hire for your weaknesses. So if you don't have a strong financial background or acumen, or if you don't know anything about pricing, or if you don't even know what your costs are, right? Like if you don't even know what it costs to deliver your services or to produce your products, you need a CFO. You really, really need a CFO because that's the person that's going to come in with this toolbox to really help you be able to make data-driven decisions that lets you focus on the vision and executing the vision and doing what you love to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so beautiful once they install this finance team, right? Mm-hmm. And you just see like the stress just melts away. In the beginning, they come in and they have this like, oh, it's going to be so hard. It's going to be so much work. And then they realize like, oh, wait, you're going to do that for me? Oh, you're going to do that too? I don't have to do it. Okay, awesome. And it's night and day in that first 12 months when a business owner has the right team surrounding them. And the other thing too is that, I also hear a lot of times, well, I keep asking my bookkeeper, I keep asking my CPA, my tax preparer, I keep asking and nobody's answering me and nobody's giving me the information. I'm sure you hear that a lot too when we start working with new clients. And it's because, unfortunately, they're great at what they do, but they're looking at historical data, right? They're not looking at that future. They're not planning and helping you strategize to be profitable. So that's a common complaint. It's like, my bookkeeper, I keep asking for a budget and I don't get one. It's like, well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah. And I've had before my Cash Flow CFO days, right? I've had prior clients ask, who should I ask to create a budget? Well, I mean, you could try to ask your bookkeeper. Yeah. And they will most likely be unable to layer in the different what ifs that a CFO would layer in. And so it's really just a set budget based on historicals. And if you don't have any other assumptions or insights or future, forward-looking strategies and projections, you're not really setting yourself up for success.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think too, I love talking about budgets and forecasts because I feel like it's just a kind of a tossed around term that you hear a lot. But when you actually sit down and have somebody that knows what they're doing, create a forecast and a budget for you, your mind is blown because there's so many levels and layers of intricacy that goes into that. And it's not just, I'm going to increase my revenue by 30% next year. And I'm just, hoping a prayer.
How are we going to do that? Right? What's our strategic plan? Do we have to hire people? Do we have to invest our profits back into marketing? What are all these changes that need to happen to grow that revenue?
Yep, absolutely. And so that's where I love, I nerd out, when we talk about holistic, right? We look at the business model from a holistic point of view. When you say, I want to increase my revenue by 30%, my first question is, cool, how many units is that? What are you selling? Yeah. Let's get clear on that first. And then when we're clear on that, then I want to dive into their sales pipeline and reverse engineer it. All right, well, here's what we've set the marketing budget at. What's your customer acquisition cost? What's your cost for getting a lead? And what's your conversion rates as it moves through your sales cycle to actually become one of those sales that make up that 30%? And I don't think enough business owners realize, hey, I can map all of this out and put KPIs in place for each little component so that I don't have any guesswork in, am I going to hit that 30% growth goal? And that's what the CFO does.
Yeah. And I think just to add to that, provided you have good, accurate data to be able to come up with those metrics, they are so imperative to your operations, to your sales, to everything about what you do every day. Because if you don't know what you need to sell, right? If you don't know how you're going to reach those goals, you're literally just throwing spaghetti at the wall. They're not measurable goals, right? They're not SMART goals. And everybody wants measurable, attainable, realistic goals, right? So yeah, I think those metrics are so important to have. And again, that just speaks to the importance of marketing, the marketing function in a business.
Start scaling with confidence today. The Cash Flow CFO is a full-service accounting and fractional CFO firm. So it goes without saying that our financial experts are phenomenal at number crunching. But more than that, they are expert communicators who will connect all those complicated financial dots in a way that just makes sense. We don't wait in the wings and check in every so often either. With our boutique approach, we position ourselves front and center, watching over every dollar that comes in and out of your business as if it was our own. So if your business is making money and you're ready to take it to the next level, but you're not sure you completely understand your numbers, and you're looking for that trusted guide to help you build a roadmap to reach your financial goals, it sounds like we would be a great fit. Visit thecashflowcfo.com and let's get started empowering you to build and scale your business the way you want to today.
Yes, you have to have data, right? Be tracking this data. And I also see sometimes business owners are doing a great job of tracking, but all the information is siloed.
Yes.
So there's not somebody from that finance seat at that high level that's pulling the data from all the different spots in the business to weave it together to have this comprehensive profit roadmap. And I think that's one of the pieces that, a lot of business owners are not getting the full picture by having the siloed information in the different divisions, I guess you will, of a company.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the ops too, right? Mm-hmm. Because marketing, ops, finance, they all have to play together and they all have to, it's the best laid plans can be, hey, here's how we're going to do it. Okay, well, after the first month, let's measure, let's analyze budget versus actual. How did it actually turn out? And then from there go, okay, does this plan, yes, give it a few months to season it, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then if you're not hitting your goals, what are you recommending to the clients? When maybe they've set the bar too high, too aggressive, and they need to, we all know with different marketing channels, right? There's different lengths of time before a Google ad's going to work, or a Facebook ad. You've got to give it some time to work its magic. So what are some of the conversations that you're having with clients around that?
Yeah, no, that's a great topic. So, usually when we're not seeing us hit the goals that we had initially planned, we have to reevaluate. We have to start picking apart the model. We have to start identifying what is not going as planned, right? Is it that we're not converting? Is it that we're not getting enough leads to convert, right? Is it that our price point is too high? And maybe we need to reevaluate ways that we can reduce our costs to have a lesser price, right, for our customers. And I think that this is something we see fairly often. I'm actually seeing it with a few of my clients right now, just with how things are in 2024. There's a lot of uncertainty this year. And, consumers aren't necessarily spending as much in certain areas. And so this is around the time, right? At the end of the first quarter, we're deep diving in, and we're analyzing those budget to actuals. And we're saying, all right, guys, I think it's time that we reevaluate our goals for the rest of the year. If we're going to keep our sales goals the same, what's our strategic plan for achieving them? What are the levers that we're going to pull to make sure that we hit those goals? And if we're not going to keep our goals the same, okay, where are we projecting our revenues going to land, right? How are we now going back and recalculating all of the things that we need to know, right, based on the leads we're getting and the conversion rates that we currently have? And then we're analyzing our expenses. And we're saying, okay, so can our fixed expenses be supported by this revenue level that we are now projecting? And if not, well, then we need to make some cuts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's that constant, like you're massaging the data, right? You get, the plan in place, but then here's the reality of it. And right now, interest rates are high. It's an election year. Yep. There's all kinds of just other uncertainties. Inflation's kind of leveled out, come down a little bit, but there's still that like lasting residual effect. Mm-hmm. And businesses have to have those what if scenarios. One of our tools that I absolutely love is that you can plug in, well, what if this happens? This number changes, and then it automatically recalculates the budget, and it flows it through, and you can see. And so you're not reactive, right? You're always proactive. Well, if this happens, then I'm going to do this and this. If this happens, then I'll do this and this. And then that way you're taking the stress and the worry out of it, and you're able to, really embrace, hey, I got a plan in place, so nothing's going to, knock me over.
Yeah, I love that you just shed some light on those scenario planning, right? Because that's one of the biggest things that we do. Usually around end of quarter 3, right? We're planning for budgets for the following year. And with my clients, I did 3, sometimes even 4, in some cases, different scenarios. And we actually built out an entire budget based on, here's one with our growth goals and our staffing plans. Here's another one where what if we only hit, 75% of our budgeted goals? What's that going to look like? Here's one where we don't grow at all. We just had a maintenance year, and so having all of those different budgets to fall back on have been really comforting to my clients, because they know that, again, at the end of quarter one, right, that's the time where we're typically going back, reviewing the financials, seeing how we've done budget to actual. If we feel the need to pivot to any one of those already planned scenario budgets, we can easily do that, right? It's right there. And then we just tweak it to what we know, and we can move forward confidently.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, that right there, that confidence and that peace of mind that you're giving the clients, the business owners, it trickles through so many other aspects of their running the business life, their personal life, their just everything. The way they show up in the world is so different when you have that clarity, and you have like, hey, I know I've got this team in my corner, and if any of these one scenarios or something totally random that wasn't planned for happens, we're going to put a plan in place, and it's not going to be, Chicken Little, the sky is falling.
Right.
And I think that just is worth its weight in gold for business owners. And I have conversations with business owners every single day, and it just, breaks my heart to see them working so hard. And it doesn't have to be that way, right? You can have this type of a tool, at your fingertips, right? Yeah. And that strategic finance expert that's going to say, yep, no problem. Let's go rework it. Let's go, I got your back kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. That reminds me, I gave you a shout out yesterday, Jess. We had a client that gave us such an amazing review that speaks to that. And it really, I'm going to read a little bit of it because it's such a beautiful way to just sum all this up. And it says, I'm blown away at the level of service, love, and care we're receiving from the Cash Flow CFO. Your team is fantastic, and everything you do is so dialed in. You matched us perfectly with Jess. She's a wealth of knowledge and radiates joy.
I love that.
Sums it up perfect.
That made me so happy.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? It's so, I love that you bring this, huge wealth of knowledge from the personal. I've been there, done that. I get what you're going through. Yep. Here's how we're going to figure it out. It's all good. That partner to have, keep the peace, and also these tools are not something to mess around with. Having these tools that we talked about, the staff utilization, the forecast, the budget in your toolkit to rely on. It's just, night and day on how to run a business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because not just the personal side of it, but even the experience I think that I went through with my business. We talked about this earlier. I exited through an acquisition, right? So I went through the whole adventure from start to end, the due diligence process that we went through. For the acquisition, the purchase itself, the implementation or the integration, right, of the two companies, and then the change. There was a whole system of change management that we had to roll out new processes. And I think about recently one of my clients, currently they're undergoing an acquisition. And I'm so glad that I went through this personally, because again, now I can approach this scenario with this client from a much more personalized, empathetic level, right? Where I can kind of wear that therapist hat a little bit, that coaching hat to walk them through this. Yeah. And at the same time, help them make those decisions based on data. Tell them what they need to know to make the smart decisions for their business. And because I've been there, I want them to be successful with this decision, right? I need them to make decisions that make sense. So that's something too that I like to really share, because it speaks so much to what we can provide and the different experiences that each one of us as CFOs have, right? What we can provide to our clients.
Oh yeah. That's why when we all get together for our weekly CFO meeting, it's just like magic pops everywhere, because everybody's bringing in a different, skill set, different, advanced education levels with different, concentrations, and they're all finance related, but they all have a different angle that you're looking at it. And it just, the conversation is so rich, and the value that the clients get, because we're all masterminding and brainstorming on their business model, on challenges they're having. It's just tremendous, and it's absolutely one of my favorite things to just be a part of. And I could talk business models and business profitability all day long. I'm like the nerdiest nerd when it comes to that stuff. And I love to be surrounded by people that also share that.
Yeah. So, that's my favorite internal meeting that we have here at the Cash Flow CFO. I absolutely love getting together with all of the masterminds that I work with, right? And not just our different experiences and educations, but our different perspectives, right? We're all different people, and we all have different personality styles and thought patterns. And so being able to bring up, maybe a challenge that one of our clients is having, or a specific scenario they're going through, or a goal they're trying to achieve, right? We can bring that up, and we all fire ideas. And sometimes we come up with solutions that none of us on our own would have ever come up with. And so really when clients are working with the Cash Flow CFO, they don't just get one CFO, right? They technically have this whole powerhouse behind them of all these other CFOs' brains, which can collaborate on their account, not so much directly, but indirectly. And so that really adds so much value, in my opinion. I wish I had a service like this when I had my business.
It's so true. It's so true. And you just get, hey, I need a contact for a banker that lends to Oh yeah, call so-and-so. I worked with them with this other client and they were great. Or I need an insurance, person, or whatever it is. Like the Rolodex is deep in the experience, and it's just it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Jess, this has been such a great CFO coffee talk. I'm so, so thankful that you joined us. And I hope all of our viewers and listeners, you guys got some little gold nuggets that were dropped all along the way here, because the information, just every time I talk to Jess, we could talk for hours, right, about this stuff. And every time I talk to her, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I didn't think about it that way, or I forgot about that, because we're moving so fast. But I think, we love having you on the team, and I know all of your clients adore you, because I hear about it all the time, which I love.
Thanks, Andrea. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, you're always welcome on the CFO Coffee Talk. We'll have to have you back, and we'll dive deeper into the selling your company and the emotional component that goes into that, and also the integration piece. That's huge. Because what I'm seeing, just a side note, because I always squirrel off into some other conversation or topic, but I'm seeing so many of these transactions that are happening with sellers selling their businesses, and they're being retained for 1 to 3 years.
Yep.
With that company.
I was for 18 months. I was retained. Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole different, it's so funny, because in the business community, everybody refers to your business as your baby. Oh, your baby, you have to sit back and you're going to sell the baby, and you're going to watch the babies. I've heard so many analogies, and it's so funny. But when you are retained, like you're saying, right, to stay on, it's no longer your baby, and you have to sit by and just watch and be a part, be a active participant without a big say-so.
Yeah. And I think depending on the acquiring company, I think that integration experience and that emotional roller coaster, so to speak, can vary tremendously, right? In my case, they were very open and transparent, and they were very eager to hear more about my suggestions and my feedback and my input. To be honest, I think that they would have wanted me to stay on longer, but it was at the point where I was like, okay, this really is not my baby anymore. It's my legacy now. It still exists. It's still the same name. It's still running strong. But it's not my baby anymore. So I'm going to let you guys handle it. But I could totally see how I would struggle tremendously with that decision after selling, right? If it was different. If the acquiring company was not open to feedback and wanted to come in and change things very fast and hard, and having to watch my team struggle with that, I think would be hard, right? So there's a lot of components that I think just people don't think about, and it's important that they're prepared, not just emotionally, but maybe with some action plans for how to fix that, right? Because nobody wants the business to fail.
Yeah, absolutely. Or questions to ask up front, or what to put in the agreement. If this happens, then this happens.
Yes.
So yeah. Oh, good. Okay. That's going to be one of our next topics that we'll do. But thank you so much for your time today. And it was, as always, great having you, and a very, 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 very good conversation. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and review, and we'll catch you on the next episode. If you're looking for more content or resources in the meantime, check out our website for information, blogs, and our I've Got a Spreadsheet for That series. That's thecashflowcfo.com. Again, thecashflowcfo.com. We can't wait to hear from you.